Yo, how's it going, guys? It's Richie Unicorn Caller here, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. We are back, and we have some pretty big news. Now, this is going to be talking over the live stream that they talked about, basically talking about Spell Fusion. So here it is. Atmoplex basically did a rundown. I will leave it listed in the top pin comment if you wanted to just watch the entire live stream yourself. But Spell Fusion is going to like absolutely change the game forever, and it is absolutely insane. This entire update in general just seems very massive. So let's read into it because this is my first time actually reading it. I actually didn't get a chance to watch the live stream. So yeah, this should be interesting. This is my first time. So let's do this. In order to fuse two spells, you must first learn its fusion formula. Forgot to mention that the new system is called Spell Fusion, and it lets you combine two spells into one new spell, which is basically kind of like the spell mutates we've had back in the day. This is basically that, except a little bit, I guess, better. So in order to fuse two spells, you must first learn its fusion formula. So once you've learned your first fusion formula, Diego, which is Dueling Diego, which is in the Unicorn Way, will teach you how to fuse. So all Spellmint Path versions fuse the same way, which is pretty interesting. So here we got some pictures in coming from the live stream. You can see Stormzilla in Ghoul, and you'll see that you can actually, I guess, cast it on the Ghoul part if you're using Stormzilla. So here are the fusion formulas that you can train point. It looks like it will take a training point, which is kind of rough. And we talked about how not every single person has like a billion training points. So there is going to be a chance that you won't actually be able to learn every single, fusion formula out there. Just because we are limited on training points. But it is still interesting to definitely check out. So over here you have Grimzilla right here, which is basically combining Stormzilla with a Ghoul, and of course it will take a training point. And then over here you'll see that Diego Duel Master will basically kind of teach you the ropes about spell fusion, and these are basically the fusion rules. So you have Ghoul right here, like a regular card Ghoul, plus Stormzilla equals Grimzilla, right? Which does a base of like 625 death damage, and it does a 3 times gambit off of shields, which would give you like a plus 45 Stormblade, right? It also works for the Gambit version of Ghoul and the Gambit version of Stormzilla as well, which can also combine to make Grimzilla. Same thing over here, a Gambited Stormzilla, like, Spellmint Path bottom B, combined with a Ghoul, that would equal Grimzilla. So as long as you're combining the spells together, you're going to get the spell, right? So you cannot use treasure cards, right? Treasure cards do not make the fusion. You have to use the real spells. But you can use item cards, such as the pet card Stormzilla. So, yeah, pretty interesting stuff. Yeah, this is really interesting, guys. This is a really interesting concept that they're doing, and I look forward to it. Now, of course, there's a lot of like complications with it. I think mainly if it's gonna be viable in PvE. I think this is definitely gonna be cool to see maybe in PvP and also raiding in general, and also challenge mode. Because again, we don't really see any of the PvP banned icons, so I'm assuming that some of these spell fusions, or all of them, will be PvP allowed. It will be allowed in PvP. And of course, you can use them in PvE, but then a lot of people will have the question, well, is it going to be really viable in PvE? Especially since you have to train for the fusion formula, some people might not even want to invest their training points in it. So it also says that treasure cards cannot be fused, but pet and item cards can if they share the same name and look, which is pretty interesting. A spell will glow yellow if it can be fused, but its other required spell isn't in your hand yet. Once both are in your hand, they glow green, which is pretty interesting. It doesn't matter which one you click on first. which is pretty interesting. So here's basically what the deck would look like, and yeah, this new UI looks actually really amazing. You got Grimzilla right here, that, and again, it can be combined with Stormzilla and Ghoul. I like how they have these. I like this UI. I like it. It's very easy to kind of figure out like what spells it takes to combine into this spell, which is very interesting. And this might go really good with magic weaving. So as you can see here, you'll see this little yellow outline around Ghoul, which is pretty interesting, which can be combined. You'll also see some new spells as well, which is pretty interesting. We'll get into that in a moment, but pretty cool stuff. And then over here, you see it green. You have Ghoul and Stormzilla. It doesn't matter in which order you combine it with. You just combine them together, and you got your fusion spell, right? So pretty interesting stuff. Like I said, this is pretty interesting. So the weaving fusion is very interesting, and this goes into magic weaving and all that stuff. So Grimzilla, or basically a storm, right? This is a storm. You see the storm icon. This is the storm that is magic weaving into death, right? And they can basically get Grimzilla. And this is Pluto. If you haven't known him, he's a content creator. Make sure to check him out. He kind of was disappointed about this because it basically means that a death wizard cannot actually cast Grimzilla. And this is when we get into the iffy part, right? About spell fusion. Again, it's a very cool concept, but I feel like that's a little iffy. You know, if only a Storm Wizard can cast a Grimzilla instead of a Death Wizard, right? So that's kind of like, I don't know, kind of iffy in a sense, right? And then, of course, you got Ghoul, Stormzilla again, and they have the little chart up there, but yeah, I don't know about that one. Now, I'm not quite sure on the exact specifics, but I don't know. I think that one's just a little, I don't know. I think that's just a little rough for me. I mean, we'll have to test it out in Test Realm. I mean, I think it's cool that, of course, Storm Wizards can cast a death spell, which is pretty cool. And we see it here in this player. This player is a Storm Wizard that basically combines Stormzilla with a Ghoul, and then you get Grimzilla, which will do death damage. So, you know, Death Wizards can't cast it. They would have to cast a different type of fusion, right? So, yeah, that's when it gets a little iffy. And, you know, that will be, you know, depend on the player's playstyle. So, a fusion spell can be enchanted, which is pretty nice. So, if you fizzle it, you can redraw it. If you use it, you can reshuffle it back, which is pretty cool. Fusion spells are 20% more powerful than normal spells, which is pretty cool. Fusion spells are made based on given spell effects / conditionals as well as cinematics. So then we have something called Mono Fusion, which is pretty cool. Now this is basically for your own school, right? You'll see that in order to, I guess, make this spell Mark of Shu, you would basically combine the Woe of Shu and then combine that with something like the Ice Trap spell, right? Which is pretty interesting. I'm not sure if both of these are, I would imagine, different spells, but you can combine spells of the same school, which is pretty interesting. And then you'll see that it does a base of 500 ice damage, and then also plus 35% ice traps times 3, so 3 ice traps. So this is really powerful, and it costs 6 pips. So again, this is some pretty awesome stuff. I think what's going to happen is that most people will be using Mono Fusion. I think myself included, I will probably be doing the Mono Fusion more rather than, you know, rather regular spell fusion, or basically dual fusion is what you would want to say. Just because I don't do like off school damage, I only do life damage. And again, like I said, when it comes to the whole magic weaving thing, that is optional. This whole entire thing is optional. Like, if all of this is not making any sense to you, just remember that all of this is optional. Do not feel forced do this. I highly recommend starting off with the Mono Fusion first, just because that will be your own school spells and you won't have to really worry about training points, because remember that you get to learn your own school spells completely for free. You don't have to use a training point. But it is pretty interesting now. It is interesting to check out though. So many spells. They also added this little list. The world spells, top and bottom path. There's 14, which is pretty cool. So world fusion formulas, there are 14. And then the weaving spells, which is the non-fusion, are 42. The weaving fusion formulas, there are 42. There are 5 new auras, which we checked out. New band replacement spells, there are 6 of those. There's a new spellment paths to -8. And then there's a grand total of about 131 spells in this update. So, hey, that whole 100 spell video that we did, it pretty much is confirmed now. I mean, that's a lot of spells, and that is massive. That is absolutely massive. I mean, congrats to the devs. I know how hard it must be to work on all this. But yeah, we also have some more spell fusions if you're interested. And let me just move my head just a tiny bit. Don't worry, you'll see my big head soon. But I just wanted to show you guys all these spell fusions. So we have Lightning Locust, which is pretty interesting. A 480 base storm damage plus a 55% trap if the target, which is you, has a damage overtime. Now this is combining the Locust spell, which is for Balance Wizards, with Stormzilla. So I would imagine that only Balance Wizards would be able to cast that, I would imagine. Basically, it's in a sense of, like, difference, you know? I don't know, it's kind of weird to explain, honestly. Hopefully Dueling Diego does a better job explaining, but you also have Tempest Wyvern, which is basically combining an Ice Wyvern with Stormzilla. Again, pretty, powerful damage, 840. And then you clear 2 dots for a plus 30% ice trap, right? So yeah, you can see that this is really encouraging players to kind of, dual school in a sense. And like I said, you don't really have to dual school in this game. It's completely optional. It is fun to do once in a while, but I don't think anybody has to pull hairs out just to do dual schooling. Again, we have another one, which is a Fire Dragon mixed in with the Triton spell. And again, this is a divide spell, actually, for a base of 900 if you were to just, I guess, hit a single target. And then it clears 2 of the heal overtimes and then adds a fire overtime. So yeah, a lot of hieroglyphics, it's just a lot of reading. And then you got the Centaurian, which is the myth one. Now this is combining Centaur with Minotaur. And this will actually clear up to 5 shields, which is pretty interesting. Some of these are really interesting spells, but like I said, I probably just won't use most of them. It's just a lot of training points that you have to invest to, and especially spellments. If you don't already have this spell unlocked, it's just a lot to think about. Evil Magma Man. This is basically clearing up to 5 debuffs, and then adding a damage overtime, and then apparently like another damage overtime for like a total of like 1,000, which is absolutely insane. I can't even read all these numbers on some of these spell cards. Then you have Medusa's Fury, which is pretty cool, and this will do a base of like 535 fire damage, and then it gambits off for traps and adds a damage overtime. A lot of these are really cool designs. I really like this. You got Sand Troll, which is basically a myth Cyclops, or not Cyclops, but Cyclops, or Troll perhaps, a myth Troll, my bad. And you combine that with a Scarab, and it basically detonates a damage overtime per debuff on you for a max of 3. So, pretty cool stuff. You got Cryo Cat over here, and again, you're combining Fire Cat with Wyvern, and then you'll get the Cryo Cat spell. Oh my goodness, dude, there is so much stuff on this card. Okay, so 375 base ice damage, then it detonates a damage overtime, and then the gambit for it is that if you clear at least up to 3 charms, it will also put an additional damage over time. Oh my goodness, this is giving me a headache. Green Blight. Now this is combining the whatchamacallit, Banshee spell with Centaur, right? 430 base life damage, and then you clear up to 3 traps, and then it adds a weakness charm, or at least a -55 heal weakness on whatever enemy that you targeted on. And then we got, lastly, Gorta Leprechaun. Hopefully I pronounced that right. But basically that is a 420 base damage, blaze it. And then you clear 3 traps for a -25 weakness. Now this one might be the one I actually try. Oh, wait a second. Can I even cast it? Wait a second. I'm not even sure if I can cast it, though. Yeah, that's the thing about this that makes it really, like, kind of, like, tricky. Like, you're not really quite sure on which ones you can cast or which ones, you can't cast. I'm pretty sure you can cast all of these. It will just take a few training points, hopefully. I mean, I don't know. It also depends on your magic weaving school as well. So, all this is very, very complex. Let's bring in my really big head, right? I honestly highly recommend you guys just watch the live stream for yourself. But yeah, this is a very interesting system. But it's pretty interesting. I think a lot of people will have fun with it. Weaving fusions are exclusive to weaving. Now, we just said that, and that's where it's going to get a little iffy for everybody. But there are monofusion formulas outside of weaving. So if you wanted to cast any of the other ones, such as the ones we just talked about, that will definitely depend on the magic weaving school that you are. And those are going to be exclusive to weaving, right? But there are monofusions formulas that are outside of the weaving, which are just going to be completely based on your school, and you don't have to worry about training 50 billion spells, right? Cam pushed for a spell fusion to make this update a slam dunk, and I think he did. I think he really did. Even Atmoplex really likes it. He says, well done, Cam and co. This system is genuinely amazing. I'm impressed for the first time in quite a while and very pleased with the execution of this system. It's a nice reversal from how spell writing was executed, which took years to clear up the issues. Great work. So yeah, I think this is pretty cool. And I'll bring up that tweet that Pluto made, because it's actually a really good tweet. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting system. It can definitely be very confusing at first. Someone wants to join the guild again. But it seems like it will be fun, and like I said, it is completely optional. You do not have to do anything I just said. It's just there if you want. Like I said, I recommend the Mono Fusion first. That seems a little bit easier and a little bit more digestible rather than the magic weaving spell fusion stuff, like combining Stormzilla and Ghoul and stuff like that, I think that will definitely confuse a lot of people, but it will definitely be a fun system that everybody can check out. And I'm, definitely curious about how this will affect stuff like raiding and PvP and stuff like that. Even though I don't go raiding anymore and I never really play PvP at all, or I really do challenge mode anymore at all, it will be interesting to see like how we move forward from this. We might see even more spell bans. Who knows? Like, we might literally see more spell bans. So it's interesting. It's a very interesting system. I think it will be fun, but we will just wait and see how well the player or the overall community is receptive to it. And this is what Pluto was talking about. Here's what I was talking about. Wizard 101 Spell Fusion is looking to be dead on arrival in PvE. Absolutely disappointing. If you aren't aware, you can't use your school's fusion spells, meaning Death cannot use Grimzilla, which we just said, and then Balance can't use Sand Troll, etc. Completely useless system. So he's not so happy about it, and hey, I'm with him right there, man. I'm also not happy about it because, especially if you're someone that doesn't have training points, it will definitely be hard to get some of these fusions. And I think it's not even the training points that's the problem. I think it's just the magic weaving exclusiveness, right? Like you can only cast these depending on your magic weaving sub school. So that will definitely make a huge difference. So you definitely have to be careful on which magic weaving school that you take. Now, luckily, you can always reset your magic weaving school like whenever you want. You're not permanently gonna be like a life and death wizard, right? You can always switch to like whatever else you want. You know, you're not permanently stuck there. So it will definitely take some players some time to kind of like fiddle around with the system and, you know, check out all the spells and see what's in their playstyle. But it's definitely kind of promoting dual schooling in a sense. Like I said, I highly just recommend checking out the Mono Fusion first. I think that will be really cool, and that will definitely be like the first thing that I do. But overall, though, this has been a pretty fun week of teasers. We've been getting new spells, spell changes, and of course, spell fusion. It has been absolutely insane, and I am so excited to check out this update whenever it comes out on Test Realm. And just my only hope is that they just take their time with it. There's not that many bugs and glitches, because usually that kind of takes the food out of my mouth whenever it launches in a very poor state, and it's really disappointing. So, I mean, just judging from it, I mean, it looks mainly like it's going to be spells. Like, honestly, I am more excited for the spells rather than the area that we are getting in Krokotopia. Yeah, I'm definitely excited for the spells. So, we'll see what happens in the future. Gotta take... Yep, I'll give you my phone. Yep, I'll give you my phone. Gotta take care of these... Yep, I'll give you my phone. I'll see you guys later, and peace out.